Something that's kind of revealed itself to me through the A Plastic Ocean documentary, and that was the concern that I had for the environment growing up in Tasmania. And to me that was just something that seemed natural. It wasn't something that I developed or worked on. It was just because I didn't like seeing the ocean and the beach that I grew up on being despoiled. I certainly didn't like seeing the ocean turn from blue to red to brown depending on which industry had their outfall pipes working that day.
But it also affected you physically, didn't it?
Yeah, it made us sick. We developed rashes and we got red eyes, particularly from the pulp mill, which sent effluent straight into the bay near where the surf club was. And when I found out that Burnie, the city I grew up in, had one of the highest incidents of cancer in Australia, it set me thinking. I mean, clearly there was a link that needed to be investigated, but it wasn't something that anyone had looked at because you just didn't do it in those days. The pulp mill provided employment and wealth for the city, so why question it beyond that? But that's what I did, and I had the water tested by a laboratory, and we found that the effluent had organochlorines, which contained cancer-causing dioxins, and you only need dioxins in minute droplets to cause great problems within our systems, and particularly our endocrine systems. So I presented the findings to the state government, and they admitted they knew about the organochlorines and the dioxins, and they hadn't informed the public. So that was the basis for my concern, was that people should be told about what's going into their water and then make decisions based on whether that was acceptable or whether they preferred the jobs and the income that was coming from the pulp mill. It caused an outcry. My stories caused an outcry across the country.
At an early age.
I was 20 at the time, and we had media flying in from all over the country, and I was doing interviews with national media. We're on the front page of the Australian newspaper, ABC Radio National, all these organisations, and my editor, I remember, called me in and said to me, "You're bringing a lot of attention to our advertisers."
Unwanted.
And they're not really happy about it. Are you sure about what you're doing? And I said to him, "Look, this is going to affect our kids, and we need to sort this out. And if we want people to stay in the town to service these companies that are advertising with the paper, then we need to make sure we've got a clean environment." And he gave me the green light and said, "Well, I trust you on that." So we made a big impact. Within several years, a lot of those industries had started to close down, and 10 years later, Burnie was declared voted Australia's tidiest city. And today, the water's blue again. The fish are back on the coastline, and it's a very pretty city. And that whole coastline has changed remarkably.
Wow.